I know how this sounds, but I swear, when my own mother said, "We just forgot to tell you," something in me cracked. My name's Elena. I'm 36, single, no kids, and I live in Seattle. I work in audio post-production, mostly for indie films. Nothing glamorous, but I love what I do. I pay my bills, mind my business, and honestly, I thought I was doing okay. Until last month. My family still lives back in Tennessee, in the same town I left when I was 19. I didn't run away exactly. I just didn't stay. College, jobs, cities. I drifted further, but I still called. Still sent gifts on holidays. Still helped out when I could. Even when they forgot to invite me. Even when calls went unanswered. I made excuses for them. They're busy. They're old-fashioned. They don't get what I do. That's the lie I lived on. Until Dad's 75th birthday. Or rather, the one I didn't know had already happened. It started with a Facebook post. My co-worker, Lindsay, nudged me at lunch. "Hey, didn't you say your dad's turning 75 soon? Looked like a big party." She turned her phone to show me the photos. There they were, all of them. My parents, my older sister Kate and her kids, my cousin Tyler and his new wife, even my uncle from Georgia who hasn't left his town in a decade. Everyone dressed in pastels, holding drinks under a balloon arch that read, "Happy 75th, Hank." I scrolled. One photo after another, a full buffet, live music, my mother smiling wide with Kate's daughter on her hip. And then, beneath one group photo, a comment that made my heart thud. It was so nice without the drama this year. I didn't say anything at work, just smiled like nothing had happened. But that night, I called my mom. "Hey, Mom, was Dad's birthday party this weekend?" She paused. "Oh, yes, we had something small at the house. Just family. You know?" I swallowed hard. "I didn't know. I thought it was next week. That's what you said in your last message." "Oh, honey, I thought I told you we changed it. We just forgot to tell you. I'm sure you're busy anyway. We just forgot to tell you." I hung up a few minutes later, said I had to get back to work. Then I sat in the dark for a long time, holding my phone like it might buzz with an apology that never came. This wasn't the first time they forgot me. In 2020, Kate threw a 4th of July cookout. Everyone posted photos. I got nothing. In 2022, Tyler's wedding. They said it was too far to expect me to fly. I sent a gift anyway. I always sent gifts. But this was Dad's 75th, and not only did they plan it without me, they made sure I wouldn't show up. That night, I scrolled through the photos again, looked at every face, counted them, 42 people, some I barely recognized. I clicked into Kate's album and found a video. Mom giving a toast. She raised her glass and said, "It's so special to be surrounded by everyone who matters most." The crowd cheered. Everyone who matters most. I could have screamed. But I didn't. I saved the photos, the post, the comment. I needed to remember exactly how it felt. That kind of clarity doesn't come often. That kind of betrayal. And here's the kicker. The part that made my stomach turn. I just sent Mom a check the week before. A personal check to help cover a roof leak she said they couldn't afford to fix. I was still helping them. Still trying to prove I belonged. That was the night I stopped trying. But what pushed me over the edge wasn't the photos. It wasn't the lie. It wasn't even the way they acted like my absence made the party better. It was what I found on accident a few days later. Something they never meant for me to hear. A recording. One that would change everything. It happened completely by accident. The Monday after I saw the party photos, I went to help out an old client. Mr. Kepler, a retired indie director I've done post-work for. His recorder was acting up again. Nothing fancy, just one of those old digital handhelds with clunky buttons and a habit of corrupting files. He didn't trust cloud storage. Said machines were easier to deal with than people, and honestly, that day, I couldn't agree more. While I was transferring his files, one clip wouldn't load properly. Out of habit, I ran a repair tool. When it opened, the metadata said it had been recorded a week ago. The file name was just numbers. Curious, I clicked play. And that's when I heard my mother's voice. It was a phone conversation. Her, talking to my Aunt Lydia. At first, it was just catching up. Flowers blooming, new casserole recipes. Then Lydia asked if I was coming to the birthday party. My mom laughed. God, no. Elena doesn't belong at things like this anymore. She made her choice when she left. She's always watching people, judging them. It ruins the mood. Honestly, it's just easier when she's not around. She doesn't belong at things like this anymore. It's easier when she's not around. The words hit me like a fist. I froze, played it again, then a third time. I kept thinking maybe I misheard. Maybe it was about someone else. But no, it was about me. My voice wasn't mentioned, but my absence was celebrated. They weren't sorry I missed it. They wanted me gone. I sat there in that studio for an hour, shaking. I didn't cry. I didn't even feel sad, not at first. Just hollow, like someone had scooped out my chest and left it echoing. Later that night, I looked through my files, tax returns, payment receipts, emails. I'd been paying off a personal loan tied to their house. Years ago, when the roof nearly caved in, Mom called crying, said the bank was after them. I didn't even hesitate. I opened a line of credit under my name and wired it straight to the contractor. No one else knew. Not Kate, not Dad. Definitely not the aunt Mom was venting to on that recording. They just took the money, took the help, took me for granted, then turned around and talked about how nice things were without me. I'd spent my whole adult life reaching back toward people who never once reached forward. That night, I emailed my lawyer. I hadn't talked to Susan in nearly a year, but she remembered me. Back when I first started investing in small sound studios and rental units, she helped draft my LLC paperwork. I asked her to set up a meeting. I didn't know what exactly I wanted to do, just that I needed everything to stop. The guilt, the money, the illusion I was still part of something real. We met for coffee 2 days later. "Tell me everything," she said. So I did. I told her about the house payments, the silence, the forgotten invites, the audio clip. She didn't flinch. "Elena," she said, setting her cup down, "do they even know how much you've done for them?" "Number and they've never asked." She nodded. "Good. Then they won't see this coming." We began drafting documents, termination of financial support, revocation of usage rights tied to the house, and a request for voluntary vacate if they couldn't transfer ownership by year's end. I felt sick doing it, like I was betraying someone. But then I remembered I didn't betray anyone. I was just finally, painfully believing them. But the real twist? That came later that night. I was packing up old files, cleaning my hard drive, when I stumbled on something else. A PDF, one I didn't remember scanning. It was an insurance declaration, homeowner's policy from 3 years ago. Under co-owner and beneficiary, in small black print, Kate Myers, not me, my sister. I'd been paying for a roof on a house I didn't even co-own. They had removed me from the deed. 3 days. That's how long I sat with the insurance document before doing anything. 3 days of walking around my apartment like a ghost, whispering, "Why would they do this?" To no one in particular. 3 days of flipping between rage and disbelief. They had removed me from the deed. Quietly, legally, efficiently. I paid for the roof. I bailed them out. And they had the audacity to name Kate, the golden daughter, as co-owner behind my back. I wasn't just erased from a party. I was erased from the property I saved. That's when I called Susan again. She didn't even wait for me to finish my sentence. "Let's cut the cord," she said. "They don't get to benefit from you while treating you like a stranger." We filed the paperwork within the week. Immediate termination of financial support through the LLC. Reversal of access permissions to the account paying property taxes. Formal letter of notification requiring repayment or voluntary vacate within 60 days. The house wasn't in my name anymore, but the land lease underneath? Still under my holding company. A technicality that gave me leverage. They could keep the walls, but not the ground it stood on. And I was done being polite. We sent the letter. Registered, signature required. No one replied. Until they did. The call came 2 days later. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. Elena? It was Kate. Her voice was clipped like she'd bitten into something sour. Mom and Dad got the letter. What is this? Are you seriously threatening to evict your own family? I took a breath. I'm reclaiming what's mine. That land is in my name. They took me off the house behind my back. We had to, she snapped. You live 3,000 miles away. You never show up for anything. I nearly laughed. You planned a party behind my back and sent fake dates. You wanted me gone. And now you want to argue presence? Kate went quiet, then said something I'll never forget. Listen, we thought you wouldn't notice. You never asked questions, so we handled it. You didn't even want the house. I froze. We thought you wouldn't notice. Like I was a child. Like I didn't matter. Like my silence was permission. That was the moment the guilt died. I didn't owe them anything. I hung up. The next day, Susan drafted the formal cease and desist. It outlined in detail that the ground lease would be revoked if financial restitution wasn't met or legal negotiation initiated within 45 days. In plain terms, either pay me or prepare to move. 2 days later, my mom called. Not Kate, not Dad, my mother. Elena, she said, her voice trembling. Why are you doing this? You know why, I answered. She didn't argue, just sighed. Your father's not well. This isn't how families fix things. Families don't steal houses from each other, I said. Please don't do this, she whispered. We'll lose everything. I stared at the wall in front of me. The same wall I used to pin birthday cards from them to when I still believed they cared. It had been bare for years. You already lost me, I said, then hung up. But I didn't know the worst was still coming. That night, I got an email alert from the LLC's bank account. I checked the dashboard. Someone had tried to access it. From Tennessee. I called Susan. Did you log in today? No, why? We checked the access history. Someone had guessed my old backup email. A recovery attempt. An IP tied to my dad's internet provider. They didn't just betray me. They were trying to get back in, to the one thing I still controlled. They were trying to take that too. I should have expected it. But nothing prepares you for the moment your entire past shows up at your front door. It was a Thursday. Seattle sky was gray, of course, and I had just finished a 10-hour audio session. I was microwaving leftover stir-fry when the doorbell rang. I checked the peephole, and my body went cold. My mother, my father, standing there like they had never deleted me from their lives. I didn't open the door. I just spoke through it. What do you want? Elena? My mom said, voice shaky. Please, just talk to us. We didn't come to fight. You shouldn't have come at all. You're violating the cease and desist. We didn't sign anything, Dad muttered. You can't shut us out like this. I almost laughed. You didn't sign anything? So now that made it void? That's not how the law, or respect, works. I took a deep breath, cracked the door just wide enough to see their faces. And my God, they looked different. Dad had lost weight. Mom's eyes were hollow. For 1 second, one stupid second, I felt the old tug. The part of me that always tried to rescue them. Then I remembered the bank notification. The attempted breach. The email reset from their IP. They hadn't come to make peace. They'd come to manipulate it. Turn around, I said. Go back to Tennessee. This door stays shut. Elena, please, Mom whispered. We're your parents. That still means something. No, it doesn't, I replied. Not after everything. Not after you tried to access my account. That hit them like a slap. Dad's mouth opened, closed, then clenched. We didn't. I have logs. Your IP, don't lie again. His jaw flexed, but he said nothing. My mom, though, started to cry. Where are we supposed to go? She said. We have nowhere else. Kate, she won't let us stay anymore. That stopped me. What? She kicked us out, my dad said bitterly. Said we were a financial liability. A bitter laugh escaped my throat. Oh, now you understand what it's like to be used up and tossed aside? Elena. Number. You don't get to Elena me like we're family. You had years. You chose Kate. You chose to lie. You chose to erase me and thought I'd stay quiet. You thought I'd fund your lives from 1,000 miles away and say thank you for the scraps. They stood there silent, just breathing. And that's when I made my decision. I called Susan on speaker. Hi, Elena, you okay? Yeah, I said calmly. Can you please draft an immediate motion to revoke lease rights to the land beneath the property? Susan paused. All of it? All of it. My mom gasped. You don't mean that? I mean it. You're kicking us out of our home? You kicked me out of your lives. My dad stepped forward, anger flashing. You're being spiteful. No, I said, quiet but clear. I'm being done. Then I shut the door in their faces. I stood there, hands still on the knob, body shaking. But it wasn't fear anymore. It wasn't guilt. It was power. For once in my damn life, I wasn't begging to be seen. I was deciding to be respected. But the twist? That came later that night. I was in bed when I got a notification from an old email I rarely use. One I hadn't touched in years. There was a message. No subject line. I clicked. Inside was a single file. A voicemail recording. The sender? Kate. I hit play. Her voice, frantic. Drunk. I didn't know she'd go this far. I thought she'd keep sending the money like always. Mom said she was easy to guilt. I didn't think she'd fight back. Tell Dad it was her idea to remove Elena from the deed. I just wanted the house for myself. I bolted upright. She admitted it. She planned it. Kate orchestrated the entire thing. I listened to Kate's voicemail at least 10 times. Her voice slurred, her panic raw, and her words undeniable. Mom said she was easy to guilt. Tell Dad it was her idea to remove Elena from the deed. I just wanted the house for myself. Every piece of doubt I'd held on to, every whispered question about whether I had overreacted, burned away in seconds. It wasn't some misunderstanding. It wasn't miscommunication. It was a setup. Greedy, cold, intentional. I forwarded the audio to Susan that night. Her reply was 3 words. We're pressing charges. The next 3 weeks were a blur of paperwork, legal jargon, and tense phone calls. My parents went silent. Kate did too. I didn't hear from anyone until the court date was set. They thought I wouldn't show. They were wrong. I flew back to Tennessee for the first time in over 6 years. Walked into that courthouse in a navy suit and heels with Susan beside me and a flash drive in my purse. It wasn't a criminal case. This was about property fraud and financial deception. But the judge allowed the recording. When it played, the room went still. You could hear every breath, every shallow denial unraveling in real time. Kate's lawyer tried to argue she was intoxicated, that the statement was taken out of context. But the context was her voice, her words, her guilt. The judge ruled in our favor. Kate was ordered to pay restitution for the full property value I had invested, plus damages for intentional misrepresentation. Her name was removed from the deed. The lease returned fully under my name. And the kicker? Because the land belonged to my LLC, and she had no right to sign anything as co-owner, I was legally allowed to repossess and liquidate the entire structure. The house was sold by the end of the quarter. I didn't take a dime from the sale. I donated it all to a women's shelter back in Seattle. That house never felt like home. It felt like proof. Proof that I had spent most of my life trying to earn a seat at a table I was never invited to in the first place. And now? I was done building tables for people who never brought a chair for me. About 2 weeks after the ruling, I got one last letter. Handwritten. From my dad. He apologized. No excuses, no guilt tripping. Just a short, shaky paragraph. You were right. We failed you. And we followed the wrong child. I only hope you're free now. I didn't write back. Not out of spite. Out of peace. That was the end. Not with a bang, but with the quiet strength of someone who finally chose herself. And let me tell you something real. Closure doesn't come from watching someone fall. It comes the moment you realize you stood up, walked away, and never looked back. Sometimes the hardest people to let go of are the ones who taught you to question your worth. But walking away isn't cruelty. It's clarity. And survival isn't spite. It's sacred. If you've ever been made to feel invisible in your own family, I hear you. You're not alone. Drop a comment if you've been through something similar. I'd love to know I'm not the only one. And if you stuck with me this far, feel free to follow along. Maybe this story helped you find a little strength too.